to Gaming on a Budget. Today we bring you Days of Ire, Budapest 1956. This is a game that can be played either cooperatively or all versus one, and in which we will be playing through the very brief week-long revolution that took place in Budapest in 1956. There's all kinds of history there. You can read about it in the rule book, in fact, or probably online, I imagine. Maybe there's some information hidden in some dark crevice of the internet, possibly. But at any rate, so we will be playing vampires from the movie Twilight, or, revolutionaries, but you wouldn't know from looking at them. They strike me as people that sparkle in the sunlight.
Okay.
Anyway, all that aside, since probably a lot of people aren't even going to get that reference necessarily, and it's kind of sad that I get that reference, we will be playing the cooperative version, where we will have an automated General Zhukov who will generally make our lives miserable at every possible turn. We will be attempting to essentially survive for a week. If we can do so, a ceasefire is declared, and we're considered to have won, even though if you read the history, things don't go so great in the next few days. But, we're just dealing with this week. Yes, sir?
4 events, or less.
Yes, and we also have to have 4 events or less on the board at the time the week ends, to not die. Quite literally, I'm sure, actually.
Fire squad!
So, we will be moving around the board, kind of in a pandemic-y sort of way. We'll be traveling about and taking a limited number of actions. In a 3-player game, you always have a total of 4 actions. So in a 3-player game, one of the extra actions will be passed around between the people. Well, not necessarily passed around. Whoever we choose to go first gets 2 actions. And we'll be doing things like attempting an event, which will use our revolutionary cards, which include various symbols up in the top corner there, to accomplish. Wow, I have a lot of newspapers.
You're holding them just so that it hits every shiny bit.
Okay, how about like so?
Yeah,
how's that?
Okay.
Better?
Yep.
So, we can play them for their symbols and their effects. You can see down there at the bottom. You have to choose one though, right? You don't get to use both symbols and...
It's a choose.
No action attached
Then you can do both?
As far as I know.
Okay. Well, we could be wrong on that. As always, this is not an instructional video. This is a gameplay video, so we may make mistakes. We will probably make mistakes.
We we will.
But, that's part of the honest nature of our videos. We don't stage anything. We don't, we don't do anything different from what you would do when you're setting up and playing a game, really, except point a camera at ourselves, which might not even be unusual for some people.
Or at least some of us.
You never know. Yeah, well, one of these days, you'll be sitting in the chair. You'll see. Maybe for our 100th video. Anyway, y'all want to hear more about the game. While we are traveling around trying to keep the events under control, because that is a lost condition for us, we will also be fighting to keep our morale up, which will let us draw more cards, which is obviously important, to deal with events, because some of them are going to require 50 bazillion things to accomplish. We'll also be fighting to maintain support in our favor from the general population, because that will help keep the events under control, help keep them from slapping us in the face too hard.
Too hard is the right word.
And we'll also be trying to keep the enemy military, which is the something patrol or something. I just read it a second ago. Yeah, it was the... we'll look and mention it in the gameplay.
Snipers, militia, and tanks coming after us.
We have militia, which are just little foot soldiers. They're not too dangerous on their own, but in numbers they can get pretty threatening. We've got snipers who are dangerous on their own, and in numbers are really stupidly dangerous. They're also really hard to kill. And then there are tanks, which are super hard to kill, but luckily will only attack us in specific situations, because they're just like lethal doom machines. And can only be fought with Molotov cocktails, which naturally are kind of hard to come by. You can see I've got one available to me there, and you need 3 per tank. Anyway, most of this is going to make the most sense, just kind of, explaining as we go along and all that good stuff. So I think we're probably at a good point to get over to the actual gameplay section there. Maybe just, real quick. So the way the events are going to work is completion trigger will list things like, in this case, a number of radios equal to the number of events on the board, and below it a prize of some kind. There will also, on some events, be little things like when it comes out, or if it remains in play, or what have you.
Something
Things
something
of that
happens.
nature. Yes. And the troops are going to move. That's always fun. They'll come chasing us down, and
The tanks don't move.
yeah, tanks just kind of hang out and do tanky things. Though there are events that. Anyway.
Everything else is gameplay.
So, let's get on over to the gameplay. It'll all make the most sense then and there, and you'll have the most fun watching it, because who wants to hear me blather random loose spraying nonsense for an hour? No, you don't. You know you don't. Anyway, gameplay it is.